Well, here we are, Terry, episode 26. I guess I can take my glasses off for right now. I can see you perfectly clear. Welcome everybody to the show. Today's going to be as usual, we're going to over deliver. So buckle up. We've got some really great news and some great information. Terry, I haven't had the chance to meet Blake yet, so why don't you go ahead and tell us how your weather is in Florida. I got 70 degrees. It is the most perfect weather right now today. It's insane weather. And yet then you could tell me your weather and introduce our guest today.
Thanks, David. Well, we got an inch of rain on Friday, which was awesome. I love not running the sprinklers here because when you buy a house in Florida, sometimes you get a decent sized lot. So if you have to irrigate it, it costs a lot of money. Today's about 73 degrees, cloudy, but it's 73 degrees. And it's not July or August, so we'll take it.
That's right.
But I met Blake a couple of years ago now at an event in Las Vegas, and he introduced me to this concept of buy before you sell. Buy your home in your new market out of state of California, wherever, before you sell your house. And I thought that was awfully intriguing, and I think it's a great idea, and I think people should take a look at it because one of the things we get, in fact, it just came today. What's today? August. March 26th, 25th. I don't remember.
Today is the 25th.
March 25th, someone said, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I have to sell my house, and then I've got to go put everything in storage, and then I got to go find a house, and then I got to figure out how many. I was like, wow, boy, do they need today's podcast. So that's why I'm thrilled to have Blake here today. And with that, Blake, I'll let you take it. Oh, by the way, in the Austin market, right?
Yep. Yeah, I'm in the greater Austin area, serve several of the markets here within the state of Texas. And we've had a lot of folks that have moved this direction from California particularly. I think that's the vein of this podcast, but we're a really healthy market. Things are going really well. As well as you two, we have a perfect, it's a bluebell sky with 72 degrees. It's a great day for golf, for all the things that you can do outdoors here in Austin, Texas. So yeah, I'm a real estate broker, first and foremost. I help a lot of people help them buy and sell. And in that process, like you just mentioned, the stress of a double move, having to box your stuff up, put it in storage, move into an Airbnb, or the flip side of that is you try to go buy something with a contingency. And those of us that have been in the real estate world for any length of time know that when you're a contingent buyer, you're a disadvantaged buyer, meaning that you're going to try to buy something, and the seller who's going to sell to you is either going to need a premium or they're going to tell you to go pound sand, like go somewhere else. We don't want to take on the risk of whether or not your old home is going to sell. And so we've garnered a number of different solutions that we bring to the table for all of our clients. And I'm excited to share with you how we do this, not only for the real estate community that may be watching, but particularly, home buyers, home sellers. We've really engineered a different way to move, and I hope that it's proves to be a fruitful thing for those that are watching. As far as I know, these solutions, and there's a number of companies that have sprouted up over the last few years that deliver the capital that enables this solution. As far as I know, all 50 states and, even outside of the US, but predominantly, the 50 states all have access to some vein of this program.
Great.
And a quick disclaimer here, as we say to all of our members, first of all, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We're so excited to be able to share amazing information, to have professionals, to have speakers like Blake get on here and educate people. But again, the disclaimer is we're not here. Terry and I never get on here to tell someone that they should leave and get out of California or they should stay. But from what I'm hearing, Terry, I don't think things are getting much better out there, though. What's going on in California?
Well, all the people who vote for the right things in California are leaving. So that leaves the people who don't want things to change. So guess what? If they don't want it to change, it's not going to change, or it's going to change for the worse. So I got to tell you today, again, and at the end of March, our groups is as large as they've ever been. We've hit records almost daily for the last 2 weeks as far as growth of these groups. So we'll be at 300,000 here before we know it. And I think it's just going to continue to increase because people have just had it with the cost of living and taxes and everything else that's going on in California.
Yeah, and again, I'm not trying to tell people to leave, but boy, I'll tell you and I'm next door. So Blake, I shared with you that I live in Las Vegas. I'm in Southern Nevada. And for those of you that say, oh, that's just a mini California, no, it's not. Come check it out. I'll show you that it's not. But by the way, just from what I see, and I get media a lot from California, and I'll tell you, it just doesn't seem like anything is getting better over there. So if you're really thinking about leaving, Blake has an amazing solution. This is something that I was excited about all week. I can't wait to have Blake share. So let's dive in and tell us what you do, Blake.
Yeah, so we're real estate brokerage. We help people buy and sell homes. I started my career going on, 26, 27 years ago. And consistently for the first probably 10 or 15 years of my career, I felt like I was butting my head up against the wall trying to figure out, okay, how do we help people buy their new home and sell at the same time? And the timing of it, it's a stressful process. And most people get to the end of it and they're like, oh, I'm never going to move again. And, along probably mid 2010s, popped up a few solutions in the form of what we call iBuyers. And if you're not familiar with an iBuyer is a company that will come in and purchase your home at a discount and then resell it for a profit. They're sort of fix and flip that, really, if you go way back, the We Buy Ugly Houses, which I think they're in most of the markets around the country, they solve the same problem. So a motivated seller who's willing to give up a significant portion of their equity can sell their home to one of these investor type companies. They're going to flip it and make a profit.
Right.
There was a lot of money that poured into that space in the mid 2010s, but the consumer was still left short on their equity, if that makes sense. And so on the heels of that, more and more capital flooded into the market, and probably 15 to 20 different companies, one of which I worked for and helped sort of define how that solution engaged with the real estate agent community. But the goal in the sort of the second vein of what they now call power buyers is to help people secure and purchase their new home while they're selling. There's a cost of capital involved, but if it's not an egregious profit they're trying to make, the consumer can actually come out ahead. And I'll explain to you how that works. I'll maybe share a story of a client of ours that was selling a home and buying at the same time and how they came out ahead. But the thing that keeps people from buying while they're selling, there's really two impediments. The first is liquidity. So if you're trying to buy a new home and you're trying to sell a home, more than likely the down payment on the home that you want to purchase is tied up in the equity of your old home. So let's say you've lived in San Diego for a number of years, you've seen the property values go up, you've got a ton of equity, and you want to buy a home in Nevada or Michigan or Florida or Texas. You need to get that money out of your existing home in order to purchase the new home. Mm-hmm. That's half the battle. The second part of the battle that keeps people from being able to just purchase a home before they sell is they don't qualify to own both homes. I think it's 96% of Americans, if they were trying to buy a home and sell their existing home, couldn't qualify for a loan to purchase the new home until the old home was sold. And so through a number of means and methods, we have developed strategic partnerships within our company with some of these providers that allow a customer to pull their equity out of their existing home on a no interest, no payment loan. Mm-hmm. So sort of an equity advance, if you will. And that company also writes a cash non-contingent contract on the home that the client's selling. So they sort of put in place a stopgap measure that then satisfies the lender requirement so that client can then purchase the new home, get a new loan, and the new home lender is going to pretend like the old home loan doesn't exist.
Well, hold on one second there, Blake. I have a client of mine 2 weeks ago. They're moving from Nebraska. And they were in that same situation. Gosh, I wish I would have known, because she's super stressed right now. Yep. She has her home on the market in Nebraska, and she was one of the, and I'm surprised at that number. You're saying 96%. She was actually on the 4% side, and so she qualified to be able to have two mortgages, but she really doesn't want to. So it's unfortunate. I met you like 2 weeks a little late, but and I just saw her yesterday. We did a walkthrough with her family, and she was stressed. She was super stressed. And she does not want to have two mortgages, and she's waiting for the big offer to come in Nebraska. So I guess you probably deal with that a lot.
We deal with that all the time. And this is a great solution for people who are relocating, because you can go focus on and purchase your new home, get moved into the new home, and then list and sell your old home. And you don't have to deal with showings. You don't have to deal with the timing of your life and the buyer's life and the seller's life of the home that you're buying. I mean, it brings it all together in a way that it just makes it simple. In fact, we have clients that are building a new home from the ground up. They've got a home to sell. They're not even going to list their home for sale while the new home is being built. They're non-contingent buyers, so the builder loves that. I'll share a story. We had a client come to us. They were considering a new home purchase in Austin. The new home retail price, it was from a big builder here in town, was $1.1 million. because the builder had more inventory than they wanted, they were willing to sell that home at a discount. So they actually discounted it down to $875. So it was a smoking good deal, one of the best deals I've seen in the market. So they saved, what is that, $215,000, $225,000, purchase a new home, but they had to close in 30 days. The builder required that they were into and closed on the new home in a 30-day window. The impediment for these folks is they had a home to sell. They didn't qualify for both homes. They didn't have their equity out of the old home. So we used this program. We got them their equity advance. We functionally had their old home under a contract that allowed them to purchase the new home, move right into the new home, save hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the cost of the program is about 2% of the sales price of the home they were selling. And so in this case, they gave up, call it 10, 15 grand in exchange for a $200,000 win. So the opportunity to save money by being able to be a here and now buyer versus a contingent buyer is huge. And most people don't know how to quantify that amount. I mean, I'll ask you guys as seasoned real estate pros, if you've got a listing and somebody brings you a cash offer and a non-contingent offer, or a contingent home sale offer, how much more does the contingent home sale offer have to be to convince your sellers that this is worth considering?
Yeah, I knew where you were going with that. Absolutely. And I could see how that could be detrimental. So, and I'm glad you're putting it in a really easy way for all of our members to understand this, to where it can really pay off.
So just to clarify, Blake, I just want to go through this again. So you can take the equity. So let's say, again, I'm living in San Diego. I've got $500,000 of equity in my house.
Yep.
You're saying I can, that you're working with companies that will front that equity to allow for a down payment and a mortgage on the new house. So in other words, you're not hoping that you can qualify for a mortgage after you sell your house. The mortgage is in place on the new house when you move into it.
Yep.
So you've got your 500,000 down or whatever. Let's say it's 250. Let's say you want to keep $250,000 back for maybe a remodel or something like that. Can you do that too?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
As long as you qualify for the mortgage.
I tell my clients, this is funny, especially with David on the call. I tell my clients that we're going to get you an advance of your equity. You can use that as a down payment on the new home. You can use it to cover closing costs. You can use some of it to remodel your old home. And if there's some left over and you want to go to Vegas, you can do that. They always laugh at that, but yeah, at the end of the day, the beauty is that this equity is yours. And for the first time in the 20 some odd years that I've been selling real estate, my clients can now access that equity and go make a bona fide, quick close offer to purchase a home without contingency, without the headache and hassle of a double move and the risks of missing out on the opportunity that's in front of them.
Blake, I don't mean to keep interrupting, but I actually had someone call me this morning. The guy has, and I'm going to tell you the whole scenario because I'm meeting him today after the podcast. He says to me, he goes, I owe 310. I want to walk away with 300,000. And my house is worth between 760 and 800,000. He said, I don't have the money to do the construction. Do you know any contractors that would come in, do all of the work, and I need about $25,000 worth of work, and then I'll get them paid out of escrow, which doesn't sound like a very good idea to too many people. And
no, I mean, the contractor is probably either going to overcharge you, or you got to go find a contractor that's desperate enough to take the work and hope they get paid later, right?
So the big guy, Terry, I don't know, maybe the big guy puts people in our lives at a certain point, but this happened to me this morning. I'm going there at 1:30 as soon as I'm done, and I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to try to give him a solution. And I think, Blake, you just came up with it. So I wasn't really planning on talking about my client, but would this work in this scenario?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it depends on where he's going, and if he needs some equity out of his current home in order to purchase the new home, wherever he's moving to, they can do that. They can hold back some for the remodel, and then obviously, if you're going to advise him, doing the remodel is going to get more than what it costs. Obviously, you're increasing the value of that old home. It's a no-brainer.
He said he wants to go down and visit Terry, so he's moving to Florida. Terry, you're getting another one.
All right.
The front door's open, so yeah, they can come on down. We're getting 300,000 a year right now to Florida, so yeah, they can come on down.
Yeah. So this is really the biggest thing that people don't realize until after they've gone through the process with us is it eliminates the stress, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, it's not. They look at the dollars and cents on the front end and they say, yes, this makes economic sense. It's not until they get to the end and they go, wow, this was really easy. I got to focus on the thing I want. Most people aren't excited about selling a home. I mean, as good a listing agent as the three of us might be, as good as we take care of our people, at the end of the day, selling a home is not a lot of fun. Buying a home is a blast. And so they want to focus on buying. So, hey, focus on what you want first, and then we'll tidy up the other stuff later. And it really, really does make the process a lot simpler. It's, you know, I have another client right now. They bought a new home. They're closing actually, as we speak, they're at the closing table with my business partner. They're going to move into their new home. They're disabled vets. They both have significant disabilities that make it, and they have 3 big dogs. Mm-hmm. And so the thought of showing their home to a prospect is, I mean, it's a non-starter for them. They're going to be able to move into their new home utilizing a VA loan. They're going to be able to move in, fantastic people, and get settled in the new home. We're going to clean up the old home. We're going to paint it, new carpet, and we're going to be able to show that in its best light. And they don't have to deal with the massive obstacle that they personally have of getting in a car and getting out of the house. I mean, it's almost an hour-long process. And they've got these 2 big dogs that don't want to get in the car and, for a show. And so, for them, this was like, I don't think I've seen a client that relieved by the simplicity of what we do until I met them.
And then, Blake, how do people qualify for this? Is there some kind of is it just qualifying for the mortgage and then working with the company that you've connected with?
Yeah, in most cases, we want to make sure they're qualified to purchase the home they want to purchase first. Otherwise, all this is for naught. But they're qualifying for a mortgage as if their old home is sold. And so we find that most people qualify for the mortgage. The sort of the lay of the land as far as how much equity do they get up front. It's really, if you think about it from the company that's providing the equity, they want to mitigate the risk. And so let's say you've got a seller that's got a $500,000 home and they owe $250,000. So they've got $250,000 worth of equity. What we're typically getting them is an advance of about half of that up front that gives them the cash they need to purchase the new home. They get moved into the new home. They've got a new mortgage. They then list and sell their old home. And when it sells, they get the rest of that equity. So the other $125,000 that's stuck in the old home, they now have for the new home purchase. They now have to pay down the loan on the purchase they've already made. They can then recast their mortgage and have a payment that's where it would have been had they sold their home to begin with.
So it does recast. So you're not just paying down the principal, it's recasting to a different payment?
Yep.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I think almost it may even be a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac guideline, which for those that aren't real estate people, that's the entity that sort of governs the guidelines for mortgages on the secondary market. One of the guidelines is that if the client puts a substantial amount of cash towards the principal balance, they have the option to recast their loan. Sometimes they charge a couple $100 to do that, the lender. But, in the case of the family that's buying as we speak, they've got enough for the down payment. They've got a lot of equity in their home that when they get that, they're going to pay down their mortgage and they're going to reset their payment to a level that feels really, really good to them. And
then just again, logistically, just for some detail, when they buy that new house and they still have their other one, are they still paying 2 mortgages at that point?
No, what we do there, this is really, we've thought about, I think, everything. I'm sure there's something we haven't thought about, but as they get that equity advance, they can use some of it towards repairing the old home. They can put some towards the new home. We actually will escrow up to 6 months worth of payments for them. If double payments is not in their budget, meaning that they just don't feel comfortable making double payments, we'll hold aside some of it in an escrow account to make that mortgage payment for them so that they don't have the pain of double payments.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
And then, I guess an obvious question you get a lot is, what happens if my house is not selling, or now I'm being aggressive trying to sell my house and it's taking longer than we thought? What happened? Yeah. What's the downside?
The beauty of these programs is because there's a cash non-contingent contract to purchase their home at a discounted price when they start the process, because that's what's utilized to mitigate the debt to income ratio or the qualifying ability for the consumer to have the new home mortgage. That contract is a true contract and they can close on that. So it's at any point during the process, once you get past the 3-month mark, if they want to hit the easy button, they can do that. And then the company that they've been working with will step in and purchase their old home.
I see.
Stop the bleeding. It's going to look a lot like maybe one of those iBuyer purchases I mentioned before. It's a discount from full equity, but it gets them out of the transaction, which is oftentimes, not often, but every now and again, if the home hasn't sold and they just want to hit the easy button and be done, they know they're going to give up some equity. They know the numbers before they start the process. They have that option if they so choose to take it.
So is that like the WeBuyUglyHouses.com and all that stuff?
Yeah, it's probably a little better than what you'd get from a We Buy Ugly Houses offer. You know, those offers are usually 70%, maybe 60% of the fair market value. This offer is going to be closer to 80 to 85% of fair market value.
So Blake, since you do this all the time, what's the reaction? I mean, you're the one that's giving out the numbers to these clients. Are they like, oh my God? Or are they like, oh, that wouldn't be horrible if we had to hit the easy button? But what's the reaction that you see?
Most people operate under the same guise that I do, and you guys probably do as well. And probably most of the people that are listening to this podcast expect the best, prepare for the worst. And so we move forward with the expectation that the market is going to bear what the market's going to bear, and your home is going to sell. And I've not met a home in my career that hasn't sold. Every home sells at some point. Sometimes it's price, sometimes it's condition. But if you've got 6 months to figure that out, most people get that figured out and they get the home sold in the market for something very close to top dollar. They like knowing that they have the trailing guarantee that they can push the easy button. They don't expect that that's the way it's going to go, but it's a relief to them to know that there is sort of an end to the process that they can exercise that just sort of makes this whole thing done.
Well, the $1 million question, Blake, would be how many people hit the easy button?
We've had, trying to do the math in my head, I can say we've only had one hit the easy button, and out of hundreds, so very, very few people hit that easy button. And that, as a professional real estate advisor, when I meet with someone, I tell them, this is where your home needs to be priced, and this is the condition it needs to be in to sell. And we look at data, comparable data. I mean, it's the process of listing a home, right? And for most real estate professionals, you advise the clients on price and condition. And if your advice is good advice, the market will respond. And so, that 99.9% or 99.5%, whatever the math ends up being, of our clients sell their home in the market, they get top dollar, and they get to realize all of their equity in the old home.
It looks like Terry has a question back there, but I got one more, and then I'm going to let Terry shoot a little bit, because this is great information. This is going to help a lot of people, obviously. So the next question that I would be interested in is, what's the competition like, and how many other people are doing this? And I think, Blake, you sent me an email and you said this is the future of real estate, and a lot of transactions are going to look like this. And it would be wonderful if Terry and I could offer some kind of a special package to all of our members, and we could be ahead of the game. So that's probably like 3 questions, but go ahead and respond, please.
Yeah. As far as competition, the interesting piece is that I'm not using my money to purchase these homes. I'm not using my money to advance the equity. I'm using third-party providers, and I have 5 providers that I've narrowed down to that are the best providers. These are companies that it's a newer idea, it's a newer concept, but it's been around a long enough time that it's a proven concept. And these are really, they call them fintech, or prop tech companies. They're providing a financial solution, and there are a number of them out there that just aren't widely known, and it's not something that most people think about. Most realtors aren't informed on these products and these offerings. So from a competition perspective, I think that I don't have any competition because none of my competitors in the realtor space are looking at these options as the best way to help people move. So as long as realtors keep doing things the old-fashioned way, I think those of us that adopt new ways are going to come out ahead from a competition perspective. But really, the beauty is there is competition. There are multiple companies that offer these solutions, and they're competing with each other to get my clients' business. And so I have competitive solutions, and I keep 3 or 4, maybe 5 of these in the hopper with every single client we work with, so that we can have different looks at different offerings and make sure that we're getting the client. My fiduciary is to the client, not to the financial provider. Sure. The financial provider is just like a mortgage vendor or a title vendor. They're a vendor that provides a service for a fee.
Yeah. Go ahead, Terry.
Well, my only question was, how long has this been around? But I know you and I discussed this 2 years ago when we met. Yep. In fact, it's probably getting close to 3 years ago that we met. So this is not a new concept, but it's new to a lot of people. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to emphasize.
Yeah, it's new to a lot of people, particularly real estate people. I mean, those of us that sell a lot of homes and have been doing this for a while sort of have a way to do things. And it's kind of tough to teach an old dog new tricks. And I'm not, suggesting that we're old. I'm just saying that we've been doing this long enough that we know how to get things done. But when we're open-minded enough to look at different alternatives, and this is part of what sparked the conversation you and I had in Vegas 3 years ago or so, was, hey, there's a better way to move, and we want to help our clients leverage that. And so, the fruit of that is there are lots of companies that have flocked into this sort of market, if you will, that have access to capital. They've raised billions and billions and billions of dollars, and they're trying to solve a real problem. And the real problem is this: buying and selling at the same time is stressful, it's expensive, and it's uncertain. So if you can give certainty to people, you can mitigate cost, and you can make it just really straightforward and help people move in the way they want to move, it totally makes sense. As an aside, I used to call these financial providers a rich uncle. And I stopped doing that because I actually had a client that had a rich uncle, and they used their rich uncle's money instead of our program, right? And so if you think about it, if each of us had a rich uncle, and some of us do, and you could call rich uncle and say, hey, I'm buying a home in Las Vegas for $1 million. Will you give me the money to buy that home so that I can sell my old home without, having to do the double move? And rich uncle says, sure, here's $1 million, give it back to me when you get done with the process. That's functionally what we're doing, is we're using other people's money to solve our clients' problems. And these companies are competing with each other in a way that, they've driven the cost down to the bare minimum that a consumer would have to pay to make this move.
That's putting it in really simple terms. I appreciate that. The other thing that I think it would be really good from an educational standpoint would be, what are the mistakes that people make? And what if they did come across somebody else that was doing this? What kind of advice would you give them? And what are some of the misconceptions that people hear on the surface? They're like, oh no, I don't want to do that. No. And I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, and you said that there was a cost involved. But I think you were saying that the majority of the time they usually come out much more positive than they would on a negative cash flow. So maybe talk a little about that.
Yeah, I'll talk about costs, and I'll talk about some of the hesitancies that people have, the big objections, if you will. So the cost is, there's a cost of capital. And as long as that cost of capital, cost of the transaction is covered, which, most of these programs, 2 to 3% is about the total cost, which is substantial. I mean, that's a lot of money for most people. The beauty is it puts you in a position to be a better buyer. And by being a better buyer, the hope is you're going to make it up on being able to purchase more aggressively because you don't have a contingency. That's really, there's scales there that are tough to quantify, but I think that the typical buyer who's buying and can close in 30 days is going to come out at least 3 to 5% better than if they were contingent, long drawn out closing, risk to the seller, et cetera, et cetera. So the cost is really mitigated through just being able to do something you otherwise wouldn't be able to do. Just purchase a home and close quickly, which is what most sellers want. So that's the cost mitigation. The biggest objection I have is, well, two things. One, it's my favorite objection. What's the catch? This sounds too good to be true. And there's not. The catch is you're just not aware of this, and now you are. And now that you know this, does it make sense? Let's move forward. And oftentimes they do. The other objection is, well, this is not the way that my mom and dad bought a home. This is not the way grandma and grandpa bought a home. And they're in my ear telling me this is not right, that there's something amiss here, there's something awry. And, candidly, that's where a lot of our folks just sort of stall out. They say, hey, look, it's just different and it's new and I don't feel comfortable. As best I can, and that's why I've gotten pretty good at explaining this in a simple way, is that most of my consumers aren't professionals like the three of us on this call. They need to understand more firmly and more specifically how this plays out. And we have lots and lots of examples of how it's worked out in the past. And so sort of just getting comfortable with a new way is one of the objections. And then the third piece that's probably a gotcha that people need to be aware of. There are companies out there that offer these solutions and also insist on being your buyer's representative or your listing broker. And some of these big companies, their primary goal is to take the real estate professional out of the equation and in a way to garner a client's business through offering a financial solution. These solutions, most of them are realtor friendly and they're lender friendly, meaning you can use your own lender, you can use your own realtor, you can use the professional that you want to use and use the program. So I would just say for the consumers that might start exploring this, I mean, the natural thing that most of you that are listening are doing if you're in this spot where you need to buy and sell is you're probably Googling solutions. You might find somewhere they sort of force you to use their lender, force you to use their realtor. And in those cases, you're going to be overpaying for substandard service has been sort of the experience that I've seen. Yeah. So just be, first thing to do is to find a realtor that can help you buy and sell effectively. I mean, that's an important piece. And I know there's a lot in the news today about the real estate agency world, but at the end of the day, a good professional provides value and we can navigate the process for you.
So, before we talk about probably one of your top 3 or top 1 topics, you're Austin, and I've been there. I love it. It's an amazing city. Do you have any slides or anything that you want to share with our members that are watching, or do you think we nailed it down good enough that if they have more questions, they can just call you?
I think we've nailed it down. I mean, really the problem that we're solving is I've got a home to sell and I want to buy a home. And doing those two things at the same time is darn near impossible for most people. With a solution like this, we can unlock the opportunity for people to move on their terms and timeline, to make it simple, straightforward, to purchase their new home first, sell their old home later, make one move, and really just take the stress out of the process. So yeah, that's it. I mean, we work in Austin, Texas. We've got operations in Dallas, Houston, and we're setting up San Antonio as well. So we're able to do this in multiple cities within Texas. A lot of our folks that are moving here are moving from California. They're moving from other states to Austin, but we help local people as well.
I had one more question about that. And I would think that in this world that you're in, do you find that your clients are saying, here's my bottom line net? And I gave you that example. I said, I'm meeting a client today. He has to net. He said, if I can walk out of here with 300,000 cash, I'm done. I want to do this. Do you find that most of them are coming to the table and saying, this is what we really needed net? And they don't really care about the 2 or 3% extra they have to pay, and then the commission for the realtors and all that stuff. Does it add another step to realtors where they're having to explain, okay, now we're going to have to charge you an additional 2 or 3% so that you have the ability? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, most sellers look at the bottom line net, and these programs are really designed to free up some of your equity, oftentimes not all of it up front, so that you can go do the things you need to do, whether it's remodel your old home or purchase a new home, or have a client that they need to pay off a personal line of credit that then frees them up to be able to qualify for mortgage. So all those things can happen with these programs. The thing that most consumers need to know is you're going to get some of your equity up front, and you're going to get the balance later. The company that's providing you the equity advance needs to have some cushion and some margin that if worse came to worse, they had the ability to purchase your home from you and sort of square up on the money that they've advanced you. But really it's, as long as somebody understands you're going to get some up front and the rest later, you still get to keep all your equity minus, like you said, the closing costs, commission, and the 2 to 3% fee. As long as they understand that, then, they have to get comfortable with receiving some equity now and some later. So in your case, let's say we get, they could get 150K today, move forward with their life. And then when you get their home sold, they get the other 150, they recast the loan, they do whatever they need to do after it's done.
And then one last question, and that is, if I was to get the 250, because you had mentioned that I have $500,000 in equity, so now I'm getting 250. Am I paying 2 to 3% on the 250, or am I paying the 2 to 3% on the 500,000?
On the purchase price of the home that you're buying is often what that's tied to. So call it 2 to 3% of the total transaction.
Got it, Terry.
$1 million home, it's a $20,000 to $30,000 cost. But the key thing for most professionals that do what we do is to help the clients realize that $20,000 to $30,000 cost is going to be offset by the fact that you're probably going to pay $20,000, $30,000, maybe $50,000 less for the home that you're buying because you can buy now.
Got it.
Yeah. So Blake, just to reiterate, so you're qualifying for the mortgage up front, and that lender is ready to fund. Yep. When you find a house, I mean, do you need a 30-day escrow typically? Is that how it works?
Because whatever the lender that's providing the financing needs from the day that you sign the contract until the day that you close is what, so if it's 30 days, if it's 20 days, we have one that the lender can get it done in 10 days. And so we're going to do a 12-day close on the purchase side. And that's what the seller wanted and needed in order to garner a little bit more of a discount for our clients. And so, so we negotiated a really good deal for them because I think they got another $20,000 because they could close in the month versus having to wait, another 30 or 45 days, like a typical escrow would take.
Yeah. So that's what I love about this is I can walk in and say, I'm ready to close in 30 days, even though you've got to sell your house, but that's not even an issue because you've got equity from your old house. Yep. Then you can put it on the market because you've got basically 6 months, it sounds like, to sell your old house. And if it's priced right, it'll sell anyway and much faster. And I know houses are still selling in California. Somebody's buying them, but
yeah. Sure. Yep.
Well, let's move on. We're gonna slide over to this new topic, and that is, why are so many Californians choosing Texas? And Blake, I didn't get a chance to talk to you a whole lot, but Terry and I have been traveling around Texas. We've been to the Hill Country, we've been to Dallas, we've been to Houston. And when I say we've been there, we actually have been there on our podcast, and we talk about these different migration cities that are coming out of California. Yep. And one of the biggest things, and if you guys are thinking about moving to Austin, I would highly recommend Blake. He's a wealth of knowledge. And one of the things that always seems to come up about Texas is property taxes. I
Mhm.
lived in the Woodlands for about 8 years. My property taxes were they were rough because in Vegas my property taxes would have been 2,000 a year, and in the Woodlands, Texas, it was about 27,000 a year.
Yep.
And I know that you
Wow.
guys had some legislation that was coming on the books
Yep.
regarding taxes because that's a really big concern for people that are coming there. So, can you talk about the areas and why so many people are still choosing Texas?
Yep. Yeah. So I'll address certainly the property tax concern that a lot of people have. It's a shocking number when they see it, but I'll address why that is in a second. But the reason most people are moving to Texas, particularly from say a California type state, and is the landscape of sort of the way business is done in Texas is, Texas has historically been a very conservative state. Austin happens to be the city of Austin itself, and I'll address. There's two different Austins. There's the city that is in some ways probably bends a little bit more towards a California type mindset. But then you have, I don't live in the city of Austin, I live outside of the city of Austin. So you have conservative pockets that sort of are in the outskirts of town that live here because this is where jobs are. I mean, Tesla has just moved facilities here. Google, Samsung's building the largest chip factory on the planet in the Austin area. You've got Apple has huge presence here. Google, the companies that we had more company headquarters migrate to, particularly in the tech sector, to Austin, Texas over the last 20 years. We have IC Squared was a sort of an incubator of new technology in Austin. And so a lot of these companies, found great technology, great talent pool in the University of Texas and the things that we have going on in Austin. So the primary reason people are moving here is jobs, and they find it to be a welcome reprieve when it comes to sort of just the general attitude of people, whether it's political or sociologically. It's Texas. I mean, I don't know that needs a whole lot of explanation. As a native Texan, I think everybody should know how awesome Texas is. But it's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family, and you'll find conservative pockets. You're going to find, if you want to be in the liberal hotbed of Central Austin, you can do that. So.
And then Terry, what's your experience there in Austin area? How many times you been there?
Well, I've been to Austin dozens of times. I love Austin, and we haven't even talked about, by the way, I think Zoom's done something new here. If you put your thumb up.
I saw that earlier.
Why is it doing it for you and not me? Oh, well.
I just got one. I got one.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we have good looking thumbs, I guess. Maybe that's
one thumbs up for Austin is barbecue. Holy
smokes!
Gosh. You've got County Line. You've got what's that one that's right down there off of 6th Street? That's very pop. What's that?
Franklin's.
That's just amazing.
Yep.
Rudy's, right?
Rudy's is good. I call that maintenance barbecue. Everyday maintenance barbecue. It gets you fed, and it's good stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Texas Monthly, the most coveted. So Texas Monthly is a state publication that if you're not subscribing to it, it's a great read. It talks a lot about Texas politics. It talks a lot about what's going on around the state, different cities, et cetera. But the most coveted issue of the year is the barbecue issue. And so if you can get a hold of the Texas barbecue issue, it's going to rank the top 50 barbecue restaurants in the state of Texas. And more than a third, maybe almost half of them are in the Austin area. And so when you come to Austin to visit, which I would welcome you to do, it's a great city to visit, get a copy of that Texas Monthly, top barbecue places. You're going to go stand in line at these places, and it's going to take an hour to get through the line to get your barbecue. But the best of the best is here, and it's just really good stuff. And I know there's probably a lot of people in Memphis and a lot of people in other states that pretend to have good barbecue. It's really good stuff. So definitely worth the visit if you can. And once you're here, it becomes a staple of your diet. Brisket and tacos are the two things that keep most Austinites alive.
Amen.
Yep.
Well, what's some of the other reasons why so many people from California are coming to Texas? Give us a breakdown on this.
Yeah, I mean the tech, the jobs, the education. I mean, it's just a great city from there's a lot to do outdoors. So we've got some sports teams. We've got some, a lot of entertainment in the music scene. I mean, Austin used to be known as the live music capital of the world. And so, on any given night, you can find a venue that's playing live music. There's some good stuff. It's the home of Willie Nelson. So if you're a Willie Nelson fan, there's a lot of things that sort of tie back to his career in the city. So, tons to do, whether you're a single person that wants to, go see live music every night, you could do that. If you're married, raising, kiddos, you've got great schools, you've got great, most of our folks go to public schools. We've got great schools in a lot of the suburbs here. So great place to raise a family, great place to retire. We've actually had a significant uptick in the number of people that retire to Austin, saving except for the property taxes, which I will touch on. It's a very affordable place to live.
Well, we can go back to my favorite topic of all on these podcasts. Is I love just because I love to kind of pick your brain about real estate. So
Yep.
if we talk about real estate, I guess that'd be a good tie-in to talk about taxes too. So if somebody's thinking, so we do have a lot of members that watch our shows, and sometimes they watch it after it's over. And again, we're just trying to educate and help people, give people ideas and thoughts. And there's going to be some things they haven't thought of. But if somebody was thinking, you know what, I think I'm going to check out Austin. What are they looking at? And talk about the different geographic areas. What's the low point? And maybe you give the city. And then if you want to spend $5 million, you could go over here. So maybe you can talk a little about that.
Yeah, so Austin, general housing ranges, if you go to the sort of the outskirts suburbs, you can buy a home in the $200,000 to $300,000 range. A nice, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square foot home in that price range. You can also buy a home, close to downtown Austin in, a neighborhood called Terrytown or Westlake, and you can spend $5, $6, $7, $8, $10 million. So, a lot of that's going to be driven by, as we all know in real estate, location. It also is driven by schools and, access to local employers and conveniences. So yeah, you've got, world-class schools, you've got world-class restaurants, you've got, depending on where you want to live in town, there's a lot that it has to offer. And, for the places that have more to offer, you're going to probably pay a premium to be there. Just like in Las Vegas, I'm sure there's a variance in price depending on where you go, and same thing in Florida. So we've got, an expensive home is anything over $1 million in our, so that's, when you get into over $1 million in Austin, that's considered a luxury pricing, but there's a lot of options for people under $1 million.
And then let's talk about taxes. And are there different tax districts, and are some cheaper, and break that down a little bit?
Yeah, there's a variance in taxes anywhere from, I heard one the other day, it's 1.3% per year. That's the lowest I've heard. And as high as, in the mid 2s to upper 2s, it's rare that you see much above 3% annually. And so if you're buying a $500,000 home, your taxes are probably going to be in that $10,000 to $15,000 a year range. And here's the way I explain property taxes, because they are more here than they are elsewhere. It costs the same amount of money to run a government no matter where you go. The government has to have revenue sources in the form of sales tax, income tax, property tax. I think when you think of states that we've talked about before, there's all kinds of crazy taxes that get instituted. Texas is a balanced budget state, which means that every year we spend what we bring in. We don't spend any more, we don't have any debt. We have to run a zero balanced budget. It's in our Texas Constitution. So property taxes are the primary, and there's no income tax. The sales taxes rates are very low here. Most of the burden for paying for the government is through the property taxes. And as an example, Texas has been and is still a fiscally conservative state in the way that they spend money. And as a result, over the last 2 years, we've seen property tax rates come down. And so legislation gets evaluated and passed, on a regular basis that brings our property tax rates down. So as values go up, that creates more revenue. So they drop the rate down to get to where we bring in what we spend.
Right.
So unlike other states that have to pass other taxes, I know like in California, there's a transfer tax anytime you buy or sell a home. It varies from county to county, is my understanding. In Texas, there's no transfer taxes. There's no, it's pretty straightforward. It's designed to be, the primary way that the state funds its operations.
That's a great explanation of taxes. I appreciate that. And then, one of the things we talk about, you hit on education a little bit, so we could hit education again a little bit. And then as far as traffic goes, do you have any traffic jams like they have in LA, in Austin?
I don't know. I've not spent much time in an LA traffic jam, but from what I hear,
He's laughing back there. Look at him. He's
Well,
laughing.
I-35 through Austin at 7 in the morning can be pretty darn heavy.
Yep, there are roads that are constantly under construction. One of the things that's interesting about Austin is that it's grown for really since about the late 90s when Dell Computer got its start here and really took off, and this became a tech hub. The number of people that moved to Austin, grew quickly. It went from a small, sleepy college town to sort of a tech hub. And, we now have a Formula One track here and a race that brings in people from all over the world. So it's become a city that a lot of people are moving to. And as people moved here and the population grew, the city didn't do a great job of keeping up with the roads. I think there was a season where the city of Austin felt if we don't build the roads, the people won't come here. And they were wrong. And so now we're playing catch up to that. We've got a lot of new roads that have been built that are mitigating a lot of the traffic. But yeah, you don't want to get on 35 anytime around rush hour in the morning or the evening. That's the interstate that runs north-south through town. So you avoid that. There's other feeder roads. There's lots of places and ways to get around that have been built over the last few years. So the traffic problem is getting better. But yeah, there's parts of town you just don't go to. Just like I'm sure if you live in LA, you know not to get on certain roads at certain times. Otherwise,
every road in LA you don't want to get on during rush hour. Every road.
Yep.
So if you need to know the shortcuts and the sneaky paths, you definitely need to get a hold of Blake.
Yep.
I hit education, I hit geography, we talked about fun things to do. What did I miss, Terry?
Well, University of Texas, I think it's the largest public university in the country, is there, right? That's the largest?
Second largest. I went to the University of Texas, so I got my horns up.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
An orange wall behind me just to show off. But, so I think it's the finest university in the country. It is one of the largest universities. Texas A&M, which is our big rival up in College Station, about an hour and a half away, has surpassed us in size. But I think, quality and quantity are two different things. And so all my Aggie friends that are listening to this, you heard it from me. University of Texas is better. But
thank you for that, Blake.
Yeah. But no, it's a great university. There's a lot going on that has been an incubator for great ideas. In fact, the university slogan is "What starts here changes the world," and that has been the case with a lot of the IC Squared came out of the University of Texas, which was the tech hub innovator back in the late 90s, early 2000s that brought so many of these tech companies to Austin.
Well, and then I worked with a guy who commuted to downtown Austin, and he lived on a lake. Now that's northwest. Can you talk about that? Because that's a massive lake, right?
Oh yeah, we've got actually 4 lakes in the Austin area that people can live in or near, not in a lake, but on or near a lake and make it to downtown pretty easily. So you got Lake Travis, which is a massive lake. That's sort of the one that most people think about. You've got Town Lake, or it's now called Lady Bird Lake after Lady Bird Johnson, runs through the middle of town. It looks like a river, but it's really a lake. And you got Lake Austin, which is in between the two, and that's some more of the highest dollar real estate is on or around Lake Austin. So you've got really good schools, you've got access to the lake, people get on the lake and take a boat almost into downtown.
Well, this has been really great. It's been educational, and this is our gift to you. We do this every week. We do our weekly podcast, episode 26. We're halfway through the year, Terry, and it's really interesting that when Terry he's the genius behind this. He has over 350 realtors that he has personally talked to, and he makes sure that his members of Leaving California are taken care of. And you can see that Blake, he's not just going to come in and go, "Oh, you want to buy a house? Let's go buy it. Come on, let's go look." He already said it. He said, "Come to my town. I'll drive you around. I'll show you if this town makes sense." And Blake, I'm pretty sure that you're also going to talk to your client and say, "I have options." You're never going to just go, "Oh, we have to do this, buy now, sell later." No, you're going to figure out what works best for your client. And I would highly recommend Blake on that, because it's really important that you have a professional realtor that specializes in relocation. He has creativity. He can help you be creative, and he can help you get the best net that you can get.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure being with you. I love what you're doing. I think that one of the biggest things that we can do to serve the home buying, home selling public is education, to inform them what's going on out there, and in doing so, we bring creative solutions to the table. I'm sure you do it, David, in Vegas and Terry in Florida. Like when you meet with a client, you're looking for what's their biggest pain point and how do we help them solve that? And for a lot of people that's moving from California to the greater Austin area or to other places, we love helping people that move here from California because we understand the pain that they're feeling there and the reasons why they're wanting to move. And we help them and we introduce them to all the opportunities that Austin has to offer. So we love being able to do that, love being able to serve people.
Terry, any closing thoughts?
No, this has been great, Blake. I appreciate it, David. Thank you so much. And just a reminder, if anybody's looking at Las Vegas, David can certainly help you there. But Blake, why don't you give us your contact information when we post the video?
Absolutely.
A day or two from now, we'll actually have it listed, but if you can give it to us, that'd be great.
I'll give you my personal cell number. I answer it. I think a lot of realtors maybe get in the habit of not answering their phone so much, but my direct cell phone number, feel free to call me here. We'll get you taken care of. It's 512-431-8255. 512-431-3476. Again, 512-431-3476. You can also reach me via email at blake@clearsalerealty.com. So our company is geared towards helping people clear all the impediments to a sale and help them make a move. But it's Clear Sale, SAIL, like a sailboat, realty.com.
Beautiful.
Thanks for having me on. This has been fantastic. I'm excited to hear stories that come out of people that listen to this and have an eye-opening opportunity to explore a different way to move, whether they're moving to Austin, or they're moving to Vegas or Florida, or wherever they're moving. There's a better way to do it than what we've seen throughout the history of real estate. And I'm excited about the future of real estate.
Awesome.
Well, and again, my name's David Berry. I'm your host, along with my counterpart over there, Terry Gilliam. You can reach me at Lasvegas at davidberryrealtor.com anytime if you have any questions about relocations. If you have questions about this program, I can direct you and I can certainly help you. We appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to episode 26, and I hope you have a great week. We'll see you next Monday.